This is the original esport racing game. This is iRacing. It is a series that you, the iRacing community, vote on what we show every Friday night. It is the third round of the iRacing Formula 3 Championship as we say hello and welcome to Zandvoort, Netherlands. Welcome to Circuit Park Zandvoort. Wilmanson here along with Randy Chenef. Randy stepping in today for Connery Maddock as we welcome you, as you say, to this beautiful Circuit Park Zandvoort track. And well, Connery, it is well known that I am a huge fan of this racetrack. In fact, in many opinions, it's possibly one of my favorite racetracks in the world.
Well, it didn't take very long, Will, for you to call me Connery, but you are right. It's an absolutely fantastic track, ever so flowing, a ton of history at this circuit in Zandvoort. And I'm going to say, Will, I think you're biased. I think the only reason you like this is that the last corner is named after an iconic IndyCar driver.
Yes. Wait, it's not quite May, okay? We can keep it down for a moment, but as you can see, track temperature 19 degrees, sorry, air temperature 19 degrees, track temp 21 degrees Celsius today. Gust of winds about 10 miles an hour. It is cloudy out there as well, and that is going to be a key factor at this race, Randy, because these little Formula 3 cars, they can get pushed around by the wind, and this track is very open, especially the run out of the hairpin down through turns 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah, I mean, these little cars, they don't weigh a lot, but they definitely rely a lot on the aero. And you're right, that wind is gusting pretty good. And, you know, going through Chavac at turn 6, that downhill right-hander that basically feels like it's at 1 billion miles an hour is going to be mighty scary, I think, with the wind gusting, excuse me. Also, that braking zone into turn 7 can be tricky as well. And, of course, that run through those last couple corners, turn 12, Kumo, and then through Ari Leyendijk, turn 13. You're basically going to be flat out through turn 13 in these things. So if the wind's gusting and pushing the car around, it's not going to be fun. It's probably going to be feeling like what Ari was feeling like when he ran the lap record in Indy.
Yeah, indeed. So we say we've got about 60 seconds left before we head ourselves down to the starting grid for this event. Use the hashtag FNP, of course, if you want to get in touch with us throughout the course of this broadcast. It's Herbino, who's got the qualifying time to be 1 minute 25.840. He's exactly 1/10 of a second ahead of the driver of Häkkinen. That is Joni Häkkinen in the number 1 car. Häkkinen, of course, the highest iRacing driver heading into this event.
Yeah, Joni Häkkinen, of course, one of the more iconic drivers we've seen on the sim for a while, but a lot of big names up and down this field. You have Dave Walsh making an appearance, also Kelvin van der Linde in the field, way down the order, though, and a little bit off the pace. But we seem to see what the driver of that 9 car can do. Got Robert Plumley making an appearance. It should be a good run, all in all, here at this tight circuit in Zandvoort.
Yeah, so we are just 20 seconds away now before we head ourselves down to the starting grid. Only one driver on track, that is Jacob Toffs, but he's not going to set a lap time before the checkered flag will come out, and that time is going to tick itself down. 5 seconds to go, and now we can just get ourselves ready to think about the grid here for round number 3 of the Formula Renault, Formula 3 Championship even, here, ladies and gentlemen, on RaceSpot TV. This is why Connery does the lead commentary most of the times. It is Christophe Herbenot, pole position, 1 minute 25.840, front row of the grid. Joni Heikkinen, as we say, exactly 1/10 of a second back in second position. Sami Matten-Trogen in third place. Alongside him on that second row is Philip Eng. And that's back to row number 3. You got Dave Walsh and Jose Vergara. And then Brian Egan and Matty Spillett then on the fourth row of the grid. Row number 5 is going to be the drivers of Laurent Benzo and Derek Issa, as the rest of the field coming up on your screen. Another full field here, Randy. 28 drivers ready to go racing here at Zandvoort.
28 cars, and it's a pretty long run until you get down in towards turn 1, and it's a hard braking zone to the 180-degree right-hander. It's actually pretty quick, a little bit of banking there at turn 1 that helps the car get around, but with 28 cars storming in there, it's going to be very, very crowded this first time through. Would not be surprised to see one, if not more, cars end up facing the wrong direction before they get to turn 2.
Yeah, it is at Zandvoort, a banked corner for turn number 1. Tarzan corner. It makes things very, very interesting. There you can see at the front of the field your pole position driver, Christophe Herbenot. We just zoom in there on him at the front end of that field. He actually has the outside line in towards turn number 1. The way the banking works, it doesn't really matter if you're on the inside or the outside. In fact, sometimes it is better to be on the outside. We'll talk about that one as the race will progress. Running for 20 laps here today on RaceSpot TV and on Friday Night Primetime. Thank you for allowing us to be a part of your Friday evening wherever you are in the world. The lights are about to go on then on top of the iRacing gantry, getting set to go racing here at Zandvoort. And those lights go out. We are green. We are away as the cars will storm themselves down towards turn number 1. Heikkinen looking for the lead in toward Tarzan corner. Can he make it work on the inside line? They're side by side through turn number 1. But Heikkinen gets the jump on that inside line, Randy.
Oh, big pile up behind though. A big pile up. I'd see 6-7 cars nearly off on the dirt. They're 3 wide as well because of that coming through turn 2 in the mid pack. So a big incident in turn 1 like we expected.
Yeah, we'll give you an update on those drivers who are out in just a couple of moments' time. But it is Heikkinen who leads away as they work themselves down the hill for the first time. Actually, Matten-Trogen is putting the pressure right now on Christophe Herbenot as they work themselves down through Marlborough for the first time. Now into Renault corner. The right-hander, 180-degree right-hander before you come into turn number 9. Vodafone corner. We're on board with Trogen as he now, it's just that short little run down to the LDS. You see a lot of lines though, Randy, being taken through Vodafone corner. But what we do have is 2 drivers out, Franklin Souza and Jorge Garcia.
Yeah, it was a big incident there at turn 1. Just a couple drivers getting a little too aggressive. I believe mostly the 17 as Massimo Locatello, who's really the driver pushing the issue there.
Oh.
The race leader makes a mistake coming out of 100.
Yeah, that is Christophe Herbenot. That was down in towards turn number 12. Let's get ourselves another look at that. It's actually, we've got Varga off as well. So we're going to try and show you these two as quickly as we can. There we are. Exit of the Audi S then for the driver of Christophe Herbenot. He has himself an incident, but then as I go back, there was another incident as well with Garcia. We're going to have to try and see if we can get ourselves another look at that maybe later on in the race. Actually, no, sorry, I take that back. It was Vergara who had himself the incident. So let's go and have ourselves one more look because he had a moment and that was a lot of traffic, but it looks so actually down into the LDS. He makes the incident all by himself. Is this going to be a little bit like what we saw at P number 2? No, I'm not quite sure, Randy.
I think some drivers are actually just struggling. We mentioned the fact that the temperature is kind of down
a
little bit and the really, really cloudy weather as we now get the replay up on screen. But I think maybe some on that opening lap struggling with the tire temps just a little bit. Of course, you're going to have the pressures up because the temperature's down, and with it being really cloudy, that's going to be taking a lot of temp out of the tracks. And I think that's probably what hurt a lot of these guys on that opening lap and why we saw so many incidents.
Yeah, indeed. So we've got battles going on, as we say, at the front of your field. Joni Heikkinen has started to pull away. And in fact, he's now got himself out a gap of a couple of, almost 2 seconds actually, over Matty Trogan, who's moved himself up into the second place. Dave Walsh runs in third place, but Philip Eng is just behind him right now as they're going to complete lap number 2. We ride ourselves on board then with Eng as he comes down towards Tarzan corner. He looks himself down to the inside, Randy.
He swung it down in there like he was Tarzan as they work through turn 1. He's not going to be able to make that stick. And that's what's so great about that corner, Will. We talked about it when we were getting on the grid. You started to mention it, but you can sort of run both lines through turn 1. If you're not fully and you're not enough alongside, you're not going to ever make the pass stick, whether or not you're on the inside or not. And if you can get the advantage going in that corner, inside or outside, as long as you can hook it up right and know how to run it, you can hold your position from either end of that corner. So what makes turn 1 so fun here at Zandy.
Yeah, on board right now with Christoph Herbino, of course. He went off down at the Audi S on lap number 1 of this event. It's only a 20-lap race around here. We're already 2.5 laps of the way through it, but Herbino looking down to the inside through Renault corner, not able to do anything then, and that compromises his line a little bit into what is actually now Vodafone corner, turn number 9, but behind we have got side-by-side going, and this is Kelvin van der Linde and Loic Barb. They're going side-by-side as they head themselves through Vodafone corner, turn number 9, and actually this could be a good opportunity for Barb in the number 5 car to look down to the inside and TRD, yes, but he's just a little bit too far back.
Yeah, I do see a little bit of damage on the left front of that Team Redline Formula 3 car driven by Kelvin van der Linde. So maybe we might see a move going into turn 1 from Loic Barba here. Of course, a little bit of slipstream coming in from behind from Sebastian in the number 19 machine. So the top speed for Kelvin shouldn't be a big deal, but Kelvin just takes all sorts of time out of Ari Lyondike corner, and you see the gap behind growing. Will Kevin throw a move down in towards turn number 1? He's thinking about it, and he's deep on the brakes, and he is going to commit, and he's going to pick that spot up as they run towards turn 2.
Yeah, we also saw the battle going on between Dave Walsh and Philip Eng there as well. Dave Walsh was able to get the better of that one, but let's get ourselves another look then. This is the battle on the exit of Ari Lyondike corner, heading towards turn number 1. We're going to ride it on board here with Kevin van der Linde as he heads himself towards that first corner, Tarzan corner. This is always where you can go too wide because of the banking, and you just see the number 9 machine sweeping down to the inside and was able at that point to get the position done. Back up again in your field, you've got yourself P7, P8 going on here, Randy. This is Derek Issa and Brian Egan. They are currently separated by just 3 tenths of a second.
Yeah, very tight here. They head down into the Audi S, and I don't think we're going to see any move at all from Egan as they swing through here first time, but he's going to want to be setting up turn 12 and turn 13 to get as much of a run as he can. He's reeled him in about a car length from when they were going into the Audi S, and the 12 looks a little wide at the apex, so maybe an opportunity for Brian Egan to make a move on Derek Issa. He's a little bit wide, but he's working the draft, and the 12 is going ultra defensive, running right up against the pit wall down the straightaway, and they're going to pull side by side. The 15 thinking about going low.
Oh, he goes down to the inside in towards turn number 1. They stay side by side, synchronized spin, and oh, now up and around. That is Derek Issa. I mean, for one moment, Randy, that was almost going to be a perfect synchronized slide, but what we ended up happening is Derek Issa had some issues through the center of the corner, and he almost gets flipped upside down as we have another look then on board with the driver of Issa in towards turn number 1. He comes right now. They stay side by side for about 5 seconds, and then the two just make a little bit of contact, slide, and then up, almost upside down goes Issa.
Actually, if we can, I'd love to get another look at that as well on board with the 6. Who's just behind all that, and he just missed it. Oh, well, rip that idea then, as they're now working in towards Vodafone. Kelvin van der Linde, though, been a fantastic run at the start of this race, Will. Last place qualifier started 28th. We're only 5 laps in. He's up to P12, 16 spots in 5 laps. Yeah,
Kevin van der Linde right now. Actually, we've got ourselves that battle going on though, side by side into the Audi S. This is Loic Bob and Derek Issa. Loic now just moving himself up into the 12th position, as behind you've got yourself a car off. That is the number 19 car, Sebastian Chevalier, and that was down into the Audi S. We've seen a lot of drivers here struggling with what I said, 2 things: low track temperatures and the gust of winds at certain points of this racetrack. It seems to be that a lot of drivers can't get a break as Derek Issa does bring his car on towards the lane.
Yeah, it really seems to be a common issue, Will, and I almost wonder if maybe guys are pushing it on the brake bias a little bit, because we've seen a lot of incidents of drivers hard on the brakes, and then that rear end kicks out as they get to the turning point. So everyone may be running the cars a little bit loose, maybe need dial that brake bias a little forward, maybe even have a little bit of rear wing that's just don't have quite enough rear wing in it to keep that rear end. But that seems to be the issue at the moment, is just maintaining rear stability for all these guys.
Yep, live timing and scoring is available. Just visit racesport.tv/timing as we stay on board with Philip Eng. And he's been involved in that battle with David Walsh now for the last 4 laps or so as they come down into the Audi S once again. Turns number 10 and 11 on track. The field is starting to settle down. One person we haven't talked about is Joni Heikkinen. He's leading the way from the front right now. The thing is, Randy, he got it done at the start. He got the acceleration on what should be the dirty side of the track, got himself clear enough so he didn't have to run side by side into Tarzan corner.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, he did it pretty much perfect. He was just pretty much far enough alongside that by mid-corner, he was always going to be clear. And right now, he's trading lap times back and forth with his teammate of Sami Matti-Trojan behind. So, occasionally one of them will reel in 3/10, and the other one will spread it back out, back and forth. But you're right. It's pretty much a picture-perfect start for Joni. I couldn't think of a start to go much better, in all honesty.
Yeah, let's go back on board with Kevin van der Linden in the number 9 car, as he works himself on the exit of turn 3, Hugen Holtzbolt, and now just works himself up the hill through Huntag, turn number 4, and now at turn number 5, Schlivak, turn number 6, and in my opinion, is one of the hardest corners in all of motorsports to get right. And I was thinking for a moment that van der Linden really wasn't going to be going round the outside. He didn't try and go around the outside, but here's a look then, movers and shakers so far today in this event, and it is worth noting the 18 places that Kevin van der Linden is up in this event. Let's actually make that up 19 places. Can he get the line as he heads himself towards the Audi S? They'll stay side by side. It's going to be the case of who is the last of the late breakers in towards the Audi S, and Kevin van der Linden now up 19 spots.
He's just been putting on an absolute clinic, and looking at the lap times, and he's not really that far off the pace of the leader, and he's been doing that passing traffic. So that's what's really impressive, watching this 9-car work, now up 19 spots, and he's going to now go and work on Calvin Forbret, who's out there in front, started 18th as well. He's actually had a great drive and is up 8 spots, but I think Kelvin van der Linden is likely going to change that, as actually Derek East is on pit road.
Yep, so that is we've seen that earlier. He came on towards pit road earlier, of course, with the incident after the crash down on the exit of Tarzan corner. So this will be his second journey now on towards pit road. So clearly some issues with that race car that's forced him to have to come onto the lane for the second time here today. In a short race like this, Randy, because it's only 20 laps, what you'd normally try and do is ride it out wherever possible, because a pit stop will cost you about 40 seconds and basically will drop you most of the way down the field. But for Issa, it's quite clear that the contact he had, the damage was probably on the suspension arms on that car, and he just cannot get that car turned.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's one of the unfortunate things about open wheelers is that they are always so fragile. The parts are strong, but they're built to be light, and because of that, they really only support load in one direction. So if you smack something somewhere, it's probably going to break. And in open wheelers, they don't break in a very nice way, and they tend to shatter.
Yeah, they do. So let's just show you then your top 8 as it stands. So
Eng has a run. Eng has a run on Dave Walsh heading into turn 1. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, he does, and he comes down to the inside in towards Tarzan corner. And is he going to be able to sweep it down the inside? They stay side by side for the centre of Tarzan corner. Now it's going to be the run down to Hugen Holtzbold's corner. Who is going to get the move done? And it is going to be Eng. Eng will just slam the doors shut. You can see the pop of brake there as they head themselves through Hugen Holt's corner, but Philip Eng back up into third.
Yeah, but how long is he going to hold it as Dave Walsh wants to take it to the IMSA and World Endurance Championship driver of Philip Eng, driving for BMW in those GT cars. So it's mighty impressive, Will, that Philip can go from driving as big of a car as a BMW to as small of a one as his Formula 3, but he's able to make that move stick and has now just opened that gap up a little bit, which now is going to mean our pole sitter, who's falling back, is going to be taking it to Dave Walsh for P4, and a little bit of a mistake from the 11 car, sliding all over the place through Vodafone corner, and the 7 is going to make easy work of that on the run to the Audi S, but he's got to make it stick around the outside of the first part, but if he can, he's got the left side for the left-hander.
Yeah, and here is Herbino. He's got the outside. They stay side by side, but Herbino just gets a much better run through the centre of the corner. Just exactly what you said there, Randy. Get the first part right, and that was always going to be Herbino's corner.
That's what's so great about this racetrack. It's narrow, and it doesn't seem like there's a lot of passing opportunities. But when you get the right cars on this track, F1 cars are a little bit fast, Indy cars a little bit fast. But when you tone it down to, say, these sort of feeder series Formula cars like the Formula Renault, the smaller one, and also this Formula 3 car, they just put out fantastic racing because the track is just so flexible. The Audi S and into Hunsrud 10 and 11 is so good. Turn 1 is so fun. And as well, we've seen a couple moves happen everywhere else. It really is. I think this is sort of a perfect car track combination for these guys.
Let's make it up 20 places for Kelvin van der Linde in the number 9 car. 20 places in 9.5, 10 laps around this racetrack, Randy. Absolutely phenomenal. But now it's 3.8 seconds to his next victim. That's going to be Brian Egan. And Egan, as you say, the last time by was 2 seconds. Actually, no, about a second, 1.1 seconds faster than van der Linde. But now the number 9 car is in clean air. I'll be very interested to see what van der Linde can do in terms of maybe, just maybe, trying to get up to a top 5.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and that's the big thing for Kelvin van der Linde is he's not had much clean air whatsoever. He's been constantly having to draft up on a car and pass them. I mean, on average, he's up 20 spots. He's passing 2 cars a lap, but we know he did the bulk of that in the first couple laps. He's been constantly in dirty air, and he's constantly dealing with traffic. And, I mean, you look at the way that he's driven away from Calvin. He's been doing, you know, if you're looking just at the lap times, they've been doing similar lap times, but it's pretty obvious that Kelvin's probably got a second on Calvin, if not more. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a 26 tick off right here.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, it starts tomorrow. It is the new round of the new season even of the VRS GTE iRacing World Championship. The switch has been made from GT3 over to GTE machines. 6 hours of Spa here live and exclusive on RaceSpot TV, streaming live as ever on the iRacing Esports Network. And that is one race that Herbino has gone off for the second time down at the Audi S today. Replay coming up for you now.
This is the black.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, I was going to say, because that was who could hold corner. So let's go on board of him anyway. So he works himself through the left-hander, up the rise on the right, and is he just going to, he's just going to catch the grass and turn in.
And that's what makes that corner so difficult, is the fact that this track, of course, the layouts changed from the original layout that was so historic, but it still doesn't have any runoff. So if you put any tires off, you're not going onto a little bit of AstroTurf or maybe even some asphalt. You're just going onto grass or gravel. That's exactly what that 7 car just experienced. And I'm going to say, well, that's probably one of the more impressive saves through that corner I've ever seen. Normally, you make that mistake, you're just getting slung into the wall at about 90 to 100 miles an hour. So the fact that he's able to really minimize the time lost there is actually pretty lucky for him.
Yeah, I would say that for a lot of drivers, they will say Slovak is one of those really hard corners that if you were to make a who's who of corners in the world, you might want to put it in there. Oh, I was going to say, it's a little bit different to turn 19 at Circuit of the Americas, which the IndyCar series the other day basically decided that no one was going to take turn 19 inside the track limits.
Yeah, I mean, that was one of the really interesting things about that COTA race, wasn't it? Well, because IndyCar was like, yeah, lines are for football. But yeah, it was, I mean, still a very good race we saw at COTA. What was actually the situation talking about that race, Will, with qualifying and doing the start-finish times where they did? I was really odd where the timing, it was really odd where the timing beam was, and I actually didn't get the word on why they used it.
I did. I actually know the reason why. So basically, the whole thing is, especially for a long track like that, the last thing they want this driver is doing very slow cooldown laps on a track which is single groove for the most part. So by having the timeline where they were, they can then immediately come back onto pit road. Meanwhile, I'll let you, meanwhile, we have got a battle going on. P number 9, P number 10, Calvin Frudon versus Jacob Tops. This is into the right-hander right now. But yeah, there is a real reason why they're Andy. Basically, they just didn't want people going 50 miles an hour off the pace on a long lap like that.
Yeah, that's definitely fair enough, and Jacob Toss is going to try to work the toe here. Not going to be, I think, anywhere near close enough to make something happen in towards turn 1, but able to reel in a car length and a half as they turn in there, as we're inside the final 10 or so laps. Now in towards this little left-hand kink, and then up the hill, and then right back down it through turn 2 and in towards turn 3. That's such a difficult sort of sequence of corners as well, Will, because the weight transfer is sort of all over the place. You have that left-hand kink, then you're on the brakes going up the hill, and then you crest it as you get on the throttle and start going down. Very, very difficult to keep the rear end in check through that entire sequence of corners.
Yeah, I'm just having a look there. At Slovak, it is not a brake. It is a lift, a turn, and you're straight back onto the accelerator as soon as you dare. So for those of you wondering how actually hard it was for Urbano to actually save that car, you're not braking at that corner. It is a lift, you turn, and you just basically glide the car through the corner. We're running on board, though, with Jacob Tops right now. He's gained about half a car length over the last, half a lap, so to say. So he's still right there behind Calvin Frodon. To give you the update on Kevin van der Linde, by the way, in clean air last time by half a second faster than Brian Egan. So van der Linde wants more.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty much on pace with the leaders in sort of that same kind of couple tenths. So he's going to make something happen, I think, one way or another. It also seems, by the way, that Jacob Toss made a slight mistake because he's not anywhere near as close to Calvin Fouderant as he was before. So as they head in towards turn 1, not going to be any move whatsoever. So for Jacob, he's just done all that work. And now he actually has Loic Barbara behind him. And that's going to be a big, big issue because now he's not just able to really look out in front of him and really push. He might have to worry about that car of Loic behind.
Yeah, up the hill they come then for Loic Barber and the number 5 car. They work themselves up the hill towards Levac once again. First of all, the left, then the right. As you can probably just see there by the red light, he's not changing down again. They're keeping it in 6th through that corner. But Barb, actually ahead of them, van der Linde's got himself up one more position. He's got himself now past Brian Egan. Egan's made a mistake over the last couple of seconds, and Egan has actually now fallen down into 8th.
It was through Marlboro Corner where he made this mistake, Brian Egan, and it's just the same mistake we've been seeing everyone make. Actually, no, I take this back. He actually put the left rear tire on the grass. I thought he may have just gotten a snap oversteer, maybe just having a lot of front aero dialed into the car, but no, just slight issue with the track limits there for Brian Egan, puts him down a spot, and this 3-car scrap behind is going to continue. Now the question is, does van der Linde have enough time to get to the 7 of Urbano and the likes of Lauren Benzo as well? Well, they're fighting in front. They are nose to tail, so if they hold each other up, Kelvin might be able to just push and get up there.
Gap is 5 seconds. We've got 6 laps to go right now. It would take Urbano and Benzo to really start fighting with each other. Just to let you know, Toffs and Barb really close together on track as they head themselves towards Hugenholt corner. Loic Barb, we're on board with him right now as they work on the exit of Hugenholt corner. But looking at the lap times last time by, Urbano did a 126.3, van der Linde did a 126.2, and 126.2 seems to be the kind of max pace you can do at this stage of the race, Randy.
Yeah, it really seems like it. We've seen the race leader tick off, I think, at 26.0 at one point. But like I said, Benzo and Urbano, they're close if they start fighting. There's a lot of points on this racetrack. Well, like we said, race very, very well when you're side by side. But because of the nature of the circuit, especially the Audi S and Hunsred, you can run 2 lines through there and make it and potentially make up a spot either being on the right or left-hand side of the track. But you also lose a ton of time through there. So if we see the 7 and the 4 start, maybe going for some cheeky passes of our pole sitter who currently sits in 6th from the 2 mistakes he's made, Christoph tries to make something happen in some of these parts of the racetrack. He will start holding the both of them up, and Kelvin is just going to push the way he has been all race.
Yeah, we saw Loic Barb was able to get past Calvin Frodon as Randy was just finishing his point off. This was down into the Audi S. Here's a replay. We're on board with Loic Barb right now as he heads himself then on the exit of Renault corner towards the Audi S. You see, actually, he's about 4 car lengths back, but the car ahead at the time, Jacob Toffs, just gets himself a little bit loose for the centre of the corner. Like Barb, then able to move himself back inside of your top 10. Battle for third. It's really kicking up right now. Philip Eng and Dave Walsh once again scrapping at it. The gap was as close as half a tenth of a second at one point in this lap. It's settled down at 0.3 of a second right now, Randy, but we got 4.5 laps to go in this event, and Walsh is just looking for an opportunity.
Yeah, I mean, this is almost close to being a 4-car scrap between Eng, Walsh, Benzo, and Harbono. They're not really that far separated from one another, so things are going to get mighty tight. Dave Walsh, we saw the tight move that Eng actually made. Who's that car slow on the right? That's a back marker letting all these cars through. I don't think there's any actual issues there. But we saw Eng, when he actually picked that spot up on Dave Walsh, very, very aggressive in doing so. And I have a feeling that Walsh wants to get a little bit of a revenge as he can and try to pick that spot back up. And if he gets the chance, I don't think Dave's going to leave much room for that 3-car.
No, in towards Tarzan Corner they come then now with under 4 laps to go in this event. But Herbino versus Benzo, that one's kicked off, and Herbino actually has fallen down into 5th, and oh, it took a turn around. That's Benzo turned around on the exit of Tarzan Corner in towards turn number 2. And cars going off to avoid, and that's another 15 car of Brian Egan, who literally had to get onto the grass into Hugen Holt's corner to even find a way of staying in this motor race. But let's have a look then on board with Benzo. They were side by side, and on the exit of the corner, oh, they make contact in turn number 2 a little bit there, and Benzo then just gets turned around. But the thing that you want to do is have a look here on board of Egan. You just see he has to go all the way off and then slow that car down somehow on the grass, Randy, down at Hugen Holt's corner.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. It was actually very quick response time for him to recognize that, and it's not easy throwing the car on the grass like that. You know, there's no traction, of course, on the grass compared to the asphalt, so actually really fortunate for him that he doesn't, say, push back up and or potentially even spin and make a mistake regardless. But this has reeled in, or it's given, Kelvin Vanderlyn that extra spot, so he's going to be now up in towards P6. Herbert now is lost a little bit of time to the 11, and actually the 3 of Phil Eng has actually opened the gap a bit on Dave Walsh as well. Yeah,
so it looks like it's going to be almost a little bit anticlimactic right now with just under 3 laps of this race to go. But let's talk about Joni Heikkinen for a moment, shall we? He's got that gap up now to 3.4 seconds. He's a bit like what Victor Prato normally does on Friday nights, Randy. He's not having to push too hard. He's keeping it within his means right now, 3.5 seconds, the gap. But, you know, I'm sure Heikkinen could find another 2 tenths if he wanted to. But on a slippery racetrack, he's driving within his means.
Yeah, and that's exactly what you need to do, is just, you have this big gap. There's no reason to push as hard as you can. Of course, you don't want to leave too much. You don't want to make an Ayrton Senna at Monaco sort of mistake. But getting into sort of the Sterling Moss mindset of drive only as fast as you have to in order to win really isn't really isn't the worst situation to be in here, as he's got about 4 seconds coming to 2 to go.
Yeah, worth noting the retirees so far today. Dennis Woodking is out, as well as Franklin Souza, Jorge Garcia, Jose Vergara, Justin Lindsay, and Derek Issa are all out of this event. We've had a couple of people who's been on pit road as well. Thomas Hinds has been on pit road, and we've currently got Christophe Dupree on pit road as well. And I think that is because of damage. And yeah, I can confirm that number 14 car has been substantially damaged. Let's see if we can get ourselves a quick look to see what happened to him. No, he's him bringing his car on towards pit road, Randy. But that car is missing a lot of bodywork, and a lot of bodywork is very bent out of shape.
Yeah, it looks like he's definitely had a big issue at some point in the relatively recently that we haven't seen, but that's because we've been talking about that one car of Joni Heikkinen. It seems like most of our fights on track have really spread themselves out, most about a second or so. Don't see really anything that's probably going to kick off too tight. Fabian Seigman and Massimo Locatello is somewhat close. What's up?
Kevin van der Linde's up into 5th place. David Walsh had a 133.2 that last time around. Kevin van der Linde is into the top 5.
Kelvin OP, iRacing, please nerf.
I mean, that's just incredible. From the rear of the field, 23 places, Kelvin van der Linde is up here today at Circuit Park Zandvoort. I will say this is probably one of the best drives I've seen on Friday Night Prime Time ever, because he's not just done it through attrition, he's done it through the fact here, Randy, that he has passed strategically, cleanly, and yes, he had a little bit of luck on his side.
Yeah, he definitely has had a little bit of help in that respect, but at the same time, like you said, he's done an absolutely fantastic job doing that, just similar to what we've seen Charles Leclerc do some of his historic drives through the field of the F1 feeder series before he eventually got himself the Ferrari ride, which he is working with this year. But absolutely fantastic drive from Kelvin to work himself up into the top 5, and he has a 7 car in front. He's made a couple of mistakes. Maybe he can make it P4 as we now keep our eyes on Yoni to see what happens. Yeah,
Brian Egan, snap oversteer through Tarzan corner. That cost him a position on the last lap of the motor race. But let's now go back to Joni Häkkinen. If there was a DRS zone, it's there. They just don't have any opportunity to use DRS, of course, in these Formula 3 machines. But Häkkinen into the Audi S for the final time. He didn't qualify on pole. He started second, but he has led every single lap. In fact, he's led all but maybe the first 200 yards of this motor race. Out of Ari Linde corner for the final time, Joni Häkkinen is your winner here on Friday Night Prime Time.
Picture perfect drive like we've been saying, and it's going to be a nice team 1-2 for himself and Sammy Maita-Trojan. Philip Eng's going to hold on to third as well. Now the only question, does Kelvin van der Linde hold on to P5? Let's see short field. That answer is going to be yes. Yeah, it is. So Beng comes home in third place. Christophe Herbeno in fourth. But our driver of the day, Kelvin van der Linde, what a drive he has had. P6 will go to Walsh. We'll go through the rest of the results in one moment's time, just seeing if there is any potential final battles. We got ourselves Fabian Siegman. He's half a second behind the number 17 car. It's going to be close at the line, actually. I think the Kelto was close on fuel, but Fabian unfortunately has to remain in P13. Yeah, there were a couple of cars, I think, slow on fuel. Actually seemed like Kelvin was actually a little slow coming off Ari Leyendijk turn. So, but regardless, Will, what a Friday primetime race this was. That was absolutely fantastic up and down the field. Actually, one more fight that's still close. Robert Plumley and Joris Blom. Blom is just out of slipstream range, though. I think this is a battle for 15th.
Yeah, it is, actually. We'll just turn our attention over to it for the record as they head themselves through the final couple of corners. Final corner past the start-finish line. That is Plumley. That is a Blom past the start-finish line. Plumley 18th and Blom in 19th. But let's have a look then at your final race results here from Zandvoort. The victory goes to Joni Häkkinen, and his victory is by 3.8 seconds over Sami Maita-Trojan, and it is a Finland and a team 1-2 here today at Zandvoort. Philip Eng comes home third place, Christophe Herbeno in fourth, and Kelvin van der Linde, one of the best drives we've seen in the history of Friday Night Primetime, rounds out your top five. Dave Walsh sixth, Laurent Benzo in 7th, Calvin Freundon in 8th, Brian Egan, we saw him have an incident on the final lap, he comes home 9th, and like Barb, rounds out the top 10. Rest of your results coming up on your screen for you now. Tops 11th, Raketo in 12th, Ziegman 13th, Bate 14th, and Skonza rounds out your top 15. 19 drivers finish on the lead lap here today as there is confirmation even of the final part of your results. We're going to take a quick break here, ladies and gentlemen, on Racesport TV and on the iRacing Esports Network, but we'll be back with more in just one moment's time. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, you round out your week's worth of iRacing on Monday night. Monday Night Skippies, Club UK and Ireland Monday Night Skippies in support of the Calm Zone. Join Rachel Whiteford and myself for that this coming Monday at 9 p.m. British Summertime, 8 p.m. GMT. Because, Randy, we are a little bit behind America in the fact that you went to Daylight Savings Time about 3 weeks ago. We're only just about to head ourselves over to Daylight Savings Time.
Yeah, and that's, I'm sure if you ask Hugo Louis, that's going to basically put him into a panic attack trying to organize commentators with the times shifting 2 or 3 times. But, yep, you're right. It's definitely it was not a fun experience for us in the U.S. losing our hour of sleep. So you guys in Europe, haha, you guys are next.
Yep, got the quick opportunity to talk to Jacob Toffs. Comes home 11th place in the number 23 car. Jacob, talk us through your race.
I think it was a bit eventful, a bit... well, in the middle was sort of a bit of a lull. The first lap, I had some massive net code. I think I got a tiny bit of damage, which affected my confidence a bit. I think I could have maybe gone a tiny bit quicker if I didn't have that, but not much. Then I had some problems with the back marker. I think I probably maybe could have got a top 10 if I didn't have those problems, but it would have been unlikely anyway. So I think I'm quite happy with the result.
Well, how hard was the track conditions here today at Zandvoort? Because we saw a lot of people having a lot of slides and the cloud cover and the wind speeds. Did it affect you much?
It was certainly hotter, a lot hotter than all the other practices. The race, I did a race earlier on in the week and it was a lot cooler than this. And also it was quite overcast, so a bit sticky and unpredictable sometimes.
Well, before we let you go, Jacob, shout out sponsors who gets it done.
Well, they say it all on the car, but I'll say it again. Obviously, SimSport News, International Sim Racing Federation, and iZone Drive Performance, and also the other guys that drive the F3. They're currently doing AOR at the moment, but this season in particular, they've been working really hard on the set and made some really decent progress with just tiny things like tyres.
Jacob Toffs there, number 23 machine. Joni Heikkinen, race winner, stood by Rani Cheneth.
Yoni, it was a pretty boring race for you overall, I would say. You got a fantastic start to jump from P2 up to the lead, and from there you had no one in front of you except lap traffic, which tended to be playing nice. Talk me through your race otherwise. Well, talk me through the start. How do you think, why do you think you got such a good jump?
I don't know. This was my second race ever, so I just tried to take good start. I didn't practice this a lot, so it was surprise how good start I take.
And talking about this track, Zandvoort, I mean, it's a track we used to see a lot more of, especially in the old World Championship Grand Prix series. It used to make sort of an appearance. We've seen it as well in some of the GT series as well, but it really seems that these sort of cars shine on this track, and it was a fantastic race today. How do you feel? How fun is this track in these sort of feeder series open wheelers?
Yeah, I think this is very good track on cars like this, so yeah, I like.
Well, thanks for joining us, Yoni, and congratulations on such a dominant win. Not much to talk about for sure once you get out there and pretty much dominate the whole thing. So who gets it done for you guys, both you and Sammy Mendy Trogan, 1 and 2?
Yeah, thanks to Team Set Esports and sponsors.
Well, there he is, Yoni Heikkinen. Well, I wish I could be as good as Yoni is without practicing things. Because it seemed like he pretty much just did the Finnish adage of turn up and go fast.
Turn up, go fast, and gets paid by the word to do the interviews. I do like the fact that even though the race is finished, Randy, it's still telling me that live timing and scoring is available. Racebot TV/timing every so often. At least I know that.
Yeah, at least we know that live timing is available, especially when there are no cars on the racetrack. But you can check our live timing to confirm that there are no cars on the racetrack. The woes of a new graphics package getting unrolled. Yeah,
but what we do want to do is give a shout out to first of all Isma Malau trackcams22.com, but also to the guys Andy Warner and Simon Grossman, who have been working their little rear ends off over the past couple of weeks to help get this overlay ready. It's not quite finished. We've still got a lot more features to come, but we hope that you've enjoyed the sneak peek of it. Thanks also to Nick Fisson for live timing and overlay development. That guy over there is Randy Chenov. I'm Will Vincent. Don't forget, tomorrow is the first round of the VRS GTE iRacing World Championship. But in the meantime, good night from Circuit Park Zandvoort.